Continuing the gaming industry's aim to port every last-gen game to current-gen consoles continues with a remaster of Rockstar's 2011 crime thriller L.A Noire for PS4, Xbox One and surprisingly the Switch. This review is based on the PS4 version, though it should be known that the Switch version has exactly the same amount of content as the other versions, but as for that version, I've heard some very positive things about the Switch port, but without further ado, here's my review of L.A Noire. For a remaster, L.A Noire is a strange candidate. Originally released all the way back in 2011 on the PS3 and Xbox 360, the game was a revolution in video game graphics, offering some incredible facial capturing thanks to the motion scan technology. It was an amazing game and was well received, but it's just a shame that Team Bondi, the developers, never really reaped the rewards, as a little while after the game's release, the studio closed down. So it does make you wonder why port it now, whether it's a stress test to see how well the game sells on Switch or maybe a sequel could be on the cards. Whatever the reason, this is still a welcome trip to the crime-ridden streets of 1940s LA. Set in 1940s Los Angeles, L.A Noire follows the tale of ex-war hero Cole Phelps through his career at the LAPD. The game charts Phelps through his early days as a humble police officer patrolling the streets to his promotion to the traffic desk, homicide desk, vice desk, and eventually the arson desk. The story moves on a case-by-case basis. L.A Noire is still one of the most mature video game stories about, tackling some really rather touchy subjects as well as some really grisly murders. The story is still strong, and if you do like your detective dramas, then you'll certainly like this. You solve cases by visiting different crime scenes and suspects' houses, and you have to find and examine clues as well as question suspects. Questioning suspects is one of the most important parts of the gameplay, as you'll be doing this one a lot. When you talk to suspects, you ask them questions and you then follow them up with a reply. There's 3 different replies. There's good cop if you think they're telling the truth, bad cop if you think they're lying but you haven't got evidence so you press them, and finally you've got accused, which means you know they're lying and you've got evidence to prove it. These replies used to be called truth, doubt and lie in the original, but changing them to the good cop, bad cop and accused makes it more easier and one of the game's best improvements. Questioning and interviewing suspects can be really fun because you have to watch the person you're talking to and look at their facial expressions and the way they're acting to see if they're lying or not. The whole interview process reminds me heavily of Capcom's brilliant Phoenix Wright games, and that's no bad thing at all. Not all cases can be as easy as picking up evidence and questioning suspects, as sometimes you'll have to get your hands dirty. Many cases will see you chasing after suspects on foot or on wheels, and it can be very fun and enjoyable. There's also plenty of shootouts to be had as well, and they're handled surprisingly well. If you play GTA 5, then you know how the shooting is like here. There is even a big open world city of LA to explore at your will in between cases, and while it does look rather lovely, don't expect an open world like GTA or Watch Dogs. The open world is only really here for you to drive to place. There is plenty of cars to hijack and secrets to find, but there isn't a load of side content like in other open world games. And to be honest, it's kind of refreshing to play an open world game that isn't littered with loads of crap like many other open worlds. There's about 40 street crimes to stop as well as 90 different cars to ride, and I think that's fine. L.A Noire isn't an open world game, and while there is an open world, it's more of a hub than anything else. Each of the game's 26 cases will take you anywhere between 45 minutes upwards to an hour and a half, so there's plenty of gameplay here. The game includes 21 cases that originally came with the game and 5 DLC cases that released shortly after the game's release. And these DLC cases are smartly woven into the story, which is great. Anyway, time to talk about the graphics now, and the game has seen a nice boost up from the original, with more detailed environments and textures, which is nice, and while it isn't a dramatically huge graphical update, it's still a noticeable bump from the original that still stands up rather nicely on the PS4. The game's iconic facial animations are still top-notch as ever, with some of the best lip-sync I've ever seen. It's certainly very impressive, especially when you think that this game originally released 6 years ago, and it really does show this tech was way ahead of its time. Sound now, and the game delivers a wonderful sounding trip to the 40s, with plenty of jazz and swing tunes spouting out the car's radio. And while there isn't changeable radio stations or loads of songs, there is a nice mix here. Voice acting is also superb here, with plenty of standouts like Phelps himself and his partner during the homicide cases, Rusty. It's also nice that the high tier voice acting goes across all characters and not just the main characters. Anyway, conclusion time now, and L.A Noire is a welcome remaster even though a lot hasn't changed. Minimal graphic enhancements, some quality of life improvements, and all the DLC are the only new stuff here. That being said, there's still a lot to like with its authentic open world and its fantastic and thrilling story, and while there may not be enough to tempt old players back, those who've never played it before should definitely give it a try, especially if you like games with a good narrative. L.A Noire still stands the test of time, and here's hoping a sequel is in the works, as L.A Noire gets an 8.5 out of 10 with the title of great. Thank you for watching my review, like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming, bye!